we know how life will last. Cactus hurts when you're alone. Weak and weary turn to bone. Thunderstorms are breaking through. One last time to listen to you. So damn hot, but I just are blue. Ground is hard, so are the blue. Our love is a mystery to prove. Cactus sing in tune. What's up, Tucson, Arizona? This is the Call Me Crazy show. I don't see no red light.
Yeah, it's going. We're
My
using
bad.
the other camera. That's why it looks dark.
My bad. Hey, this is the Call Me Crazy show, episode 230. Hopefully, if you're watching this, this means that we're back on the air, finally, motherfucker. Well, it's been a long, dry spell for both Call Me Crazy and the end of television, and I'm almost positive it's been a dry spell for all the other TV show and talk show hosts of Public Access. If you guys didn't know, Public Access is going to be merging with Channel 12, which is the U of A City of Tucson local channel. So it's going to be interesting. We'll be finding out next week how this is all going to work, huh? We'll find out how, apparently they're going to be coming down to our studio and sharing studio space with us, if I'm correct. They're going to be sharing studio space with us. So it's going to be interesting to find out if we can make it work out. Hopefully we can, because last thing Public Access needs is having animosity with another TV crew. But anyways, I'm glad to be back on the Call Me Crazy. I'm glad to be back on public airwaves, because you all know I have to. I'm an angry person, and I gotta let out certain issues out. First thing first, this week was an historic week. After almost 80-some years in the realm of the talk of politics in Washington, President Obama and Congress finally passed health care reform bill that's going to give medical insurance to maybe 50 million more Americans, which is great news. Because it's good to know Barack Obama in the first year and a half as the presidency, he's done more for the country than what George Bush unraveled in his 8 years as president. And which brings me to the topic. Earlier today, I was talking to my significant other, Anna, and who I love very much. Anyways, I was talking to her, and she said, "What are you going to talk about on today's TV show, on today's episode of Call Me Crazy?" And I said, "Call me crazy," I said, "but ever since Barack Obama been in office, I have been less angry with the federal government, the U.S. federal government, than I have been in previous seasons of Call Me Crazy." And I told her that, and I said, "But it's a good thing I told Anna that, because the Bush years were horrible. Kind of think of it, there were dark times for the country. There was two wars going on, which are still going on. But now there's a sense of optimism out there. I commend President Obama for passing the healthcare reform bill. Apparently it's been a long time in the making. So if he can do that and fix that, and trying to fix it, he said he'll continuously try to fix the problem. And which is, by the way, also ensuring for us, people like me and Marty, when we reach the retirement age in a couple of years, when we reach the retirement age in a couple of years, we'll know we'll have some funding for our Medicare and Medicaid. And Social Security is also a big part of the whole bureaucracy in terms of changing things around. Because all Washington and politics is all connected to each other. Every from the oil company to the pharmaceutical company, it all ties in, and the automakers, it all ties in, and the banks, they all tie in with Washington. They're the real people running the country. But anyways, I got off the topic. But that's what I told Anna. I said I was very happy that I have less issues to talk about. But nobody seems to care what George W. Bush does now. I don't either. I have no desire to hear him talk anymore. I remember the other day I saw a video of him on the TV, and I was disgusted. I was like, I remember living in those Bush era years, the years of terror, if you will. But on the subject of that also, a couple days ago I was reading the newspaper, very fucked up shit. Back in 2002, when the war, no, in 2003, when the war in Iraq first started, the U.S. federal government people put out some ads looking for volunteer people to volunteer and get paid though to burn trash in Iraq. Basically, you know how there are people here in the country who know how to burn correctly trash and refuse and waste. There's a certain science to that. But anyway, 300 people had signed up for it, so they all went to Iraq, and they ended up burning all the armed forces waste. Pretty much anything that the army didn't need anymore and would consider trash, they burned. Apparently, they didn't know that they were also burning chemicals that were very highly toxic. And now, as it turns out, all 300 of the volunteers who went to Iraq in 2002, they all now are terminally ill with a rare form of blood cancer. So I just want to thank George W. Bush for creating this hell for our American citizens, because apparently Halliburton were the people who hired these U.S. citizens to burn the trash. Now they all have a terminal illness. One's a Tucson resident. One's a Sahuarita resident. God bless her. She's going through chemo and going through the treatment. But she went over there and now she's suffering from a rare form of blood cancer. So God bless her. She's at TMC. But George W. Bush has created this hellhole for all U.S. Americans the 8 years that he was president. But like I said, I saw him on TV and I was physically disgusted with myself. I was like, oh, I can't stand the sight of that guy. He has not helped the country at all. In the 8 years, we went backwards. But enough about George W. Bush. Back to Washington. John McCain is up for re-election. We all remember Senator John McCain. He ran 2 years ago against Barack Obama for the U.S. presidency. And remember, he had picked his running mate, Sarah Palin, to be a vice president ticket. Now, apparently, they're both together again, John McCain and Sarah Palin. Sarah Palin is now on the campaign trail for Senator John McCain. And I think she was here in Tucson today, as a matter of fact. She's thumping for John McCain. And if voting is going to be coming up pretty soon in November, it's going to be coming pretty soon in the state. Just remember, guys, do not vote for John McCain or do not vote for Jon Kyl. Jon Kyl and John McCain are both very bad people. They don't give a rat's ass about Tucson or Phoenix for that matter, or Arizona for that matter. All they care about is their grasp on power that they have in Washington. They can talk the talk, they don't walk the walk. And when you think of in my mind, when I think of a dirty politician, I think of John McCain, Jon Kyl, plus numerous others. Newt Gingrich. They're all crooked. You know, some more than others. You know, I know President Obama, he's a politician, they're all the same. But I think he's less tainted than most of the people in Washington. So I hope he keeps up the good work. Second thing I wanted to talk about was the war in Afghanistan. That's a forgotten war, and then there's an unforgotten war, and then there's a forgotten war. Right now it's in the period of unforgotten war. And this week they released a figure. It's an astounding figure. $6 billion has been spent on training the Afghan forces in Afghanistan. So when the time comes, they can relieve us, the Americans, of our duty of protecting them. Apparently, it's not working. $6 billion later, the US, Afghan soldiers in Afghanistan still can't. 90% of all Afghan soldiers cannot read. So their life's a problem. The problem, they can't read. 90% can't read, and half of them don't know how to use a toothbrush or a computer. So $6 billion of our U.S. taxpayers' money is been down the drain. From what I read in all my education and me learning, I love to learn about new stuff, whether it be science or history or music or whatnot. And from what I read on periodicals and biographies on war, I read books by Colin Powell, Patton, Eisenhower, and what the thing they all highly stressed was, all these generals, they stressed is that when you go into a country, when you go to invade a country or liberate a country, the only way that that we could win the war is to win the hearts and minds of the Iraqi and Afghanistan people, which we have failed to do. Because like I said, in Afghanistan, Iraq, you don't know who your enemies are, because the shopkeeper who sells you the fruits in the morning to a U.S. soldier could be a Taliban sniper at night, and we will never know. So we have failed to win the hearts and minds of the people in Afghanistan and Iraq. So that's why we're in the quagmire of all these problems from both countries. With Saddam Hussein and being executed. You would think that the fact that Saddam Hussein, who was executed in, I believe in 2007, a couple of years ago, you would think that will be the end of the problem in Iraq and the rebuilding would have begun. But there's still a lot of rebuilding to be doing, and Barack Obama said by the year's end, he'd be pulling out more soldiers out of Iraq, but bringing in more soldiers in Afghanistan, which he regrets that he has to do, but he has to follow what he has to follow. Another thing I wanted to talk about, with the third thing, is off the subject, but I was watching the Wanda Sykes show. I don't know if you ever watch this show. It comes on at 10 o'clock on channel, I believe channel 18, My Tucson TV. But anyways, the Wanda Sykes show is I love Wanda Sykes. I think she's hilarious. I think her and Ellen DeGeneres are one of the funniest female comedians. But anyway, she has a talk show / variety show on the Wanda Sykes show. Excuse me. But anyways, she had the other day, every week she had a panel of speakers that they talk about current events for the week. A couple of weeks ago, like Ray Romano, Chris Rock, and some model. The week after that, it was Bill Maher, lady actress, and celebrities and authors and poets she has on the show. But anyways, the subject last 2 weeks ago was the legalization of medical marijuana. And it was the show that Bill Maher was on. You all remember him. He was the host of Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher on ABC, I think like 10 years ago, where he used to have people like Marilyn Manson and Florence Henderson talk about current events. But anyways, Bill Maher said he could have swore back when he was a youngster in college that he would have swore by now, by the late 80s, he would have swore that weed would be legal. and apparently he's a, you all know he's a big pot smoker, but he says that it'll never happen. It will never be to a point where weed was legal for everybody. You can legalize the weed for medical purposes, but for consumption for everyday use, it's gonna be not gonna happen. And what a lot of people don't know, the Obama administration has the same stance on the legalization of marijuana as Bush did and Clinton did. So it doesn't change a thing. So the day that we see pot legalized completely for all of us, will be the day when pigs fly. Okay, and on a lighter note, I just found out I'm a huge, ever since I was a kid, I'm still a kid, I was a huge Marvel fan, and back then I remember as a kid, they used to have a Iron Man show, animation, Spider-Man animation, and then after a while I remembered the Spider-Man live action, and Incredible Hulk with Bill Bixby and all that. But they released today, a couple days ago, who's going to be playing Captain America, which I think is a cool pick. Chris Evans, who all know him as Johnny Storm from Fantastic Four, he's going to be the new Captain America, which is fucking awesome, because it's about time Captain America gets his own movie. Apparently it's going to be another franchise. I seen the new Iron Man 2 preview. It looked great. It has Mickey Rourke as Whiplash and starring Scarlett Johansson. Anyways, I love Robert Downey Jr. He's been in recovery all these years. We all know he's a drug addict. Once a drug addict or alcoholic, always an alcoholic or a drug addict. But he's come a long way. He's I admire the guy a lot. I liked him then, I didn't like him in movies like horrible movies like 1969, and but I did like him in Chaplin, and I have yet to see Sherlock Holmes. But anyways, he come a long way, and I like to think that I came a long way. And so now the end of this episode, the end of every episode now, I'm going to be trying to do a new twist on the Call Me Crazy show. Is going to be a spiritual segment. But for all you people out there today is the March 26th and the 7:10 o'clock, and I'm in an undisclosed location. And the weekend for a lot of you people out there in La La Land has begun already. But for all you people out there who are struggling with your demon, with alcohol, cocaine, heroin, and whatever addiction you have, gambling or sex addiction, if you're thinking about relapsing, take it from me, take it from a veteran, don't relapse, guys. Don't relapse. Alright, guys, I'm out of here. It's been great talking to you. I think I'll be adding more footage next week, I think. I'm not sure. This episode might be going together. I don't know. But anyways, I had a great time. It's good to be back on live. Good to be back in public access. Tucson is the greatest fucking city in the world. And I don't give a fuck what the people in downtown Run Rebel says. But I'm out of here, guys. Lates. What's up, Tucson, Arizona? I am back. Call Me Crazy, episode 230. Anyways, today is the 27th, March 27th. It's exactly 5:31, and guess what, people? We're getting ready to go do live TV in a couple hours, which should be interesting and a lot of fun, because me and Marty been waiting a long time to go back on live TV, because it's been our ritual for the longest time. But anyways, you'll be seeing live TV at the end of television tonight with Call Me Crazy tonight at 8 o'clock. But anyways, unfortunately, you can't see the live show right now because you're watching the Call Me Crazy show tape episode. But anyways, couple of things I wanted to talk about. Senator Richard Shelby, a U.S. Senator, Richard Shelby, he had a quote a couple weeks ago, and this is what he says. The president proposed NASA budget begins the death march for the future of U.S. human space flight. Okay, basically meaning that NASA now is not going to be dedicating its resources into sending U.S. Citizens or U.S. astronauts back into space. For the first time since John Glenn flew in 1962, the U.S. will not have no access of its own for humans into space, and no access in the foreseeable future. Meaning that that was it. The space race for the U.S. NASA agency to be getting more humans into space is over. So, now what they plan to do, instead of sending humans into orbit, NASA's new goal is Mars. So in a way it's good, and in a way it's bad. But here's the thing. The private sector, people like Richard Branson, you know, he has that rocket ship tour thing. And then Russia also has a space program where if you have enough money, you can be a citizen from any country in the world, and as long as you pay the Russian government, you're allowed to train and go up in the Russian spacecraft. But I want to talk about that too, because we all remember back in 1969, U.S. landed on the moon for the first time. One of the biggest, or the biggest event in mankind, other than the birth of Jesus. But hopefully 10 years from now, hopefully the whole space thing is up in gear, because we haven't made progress really. I mean, sure, we have sent we had the Mars finder on the planet Mars, you know, sending back pictures, but we also had done that in the 80s. So it's a lot of pros and cons with the NASA. Okay, now second thing I want to talk about, which is very, very shocking, and it's true. Give me a second, guys. It is true. My bad. I'm sorry. I had to get a glass of water. But anyways, I recently uncovered this during my research, and check this out, people. There's a man named Dennis Blair, and he is the Director of National Intelligence. And this is a couple weeks ago. He shocked people when he told a congressional committee that the U.S. spy agencies have the authority to
assassinate anybody.
Did I say that already?
I usually don't
My
put
bad.
in, but I know you're doing a repeat there. And then basically you did this whole thing about if you get into terrorism, they'll shoot you in the eye and your head will blow
Oh
up.
my God! You know, let's erase this whole thing.
Sorry. No, just keep going. It's public access.
You'll edit it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then. Motherfucker! Okay, here, I got the right page. Sorry, guys, I'm such a freaking idiot. Oh, okay, here we go, here we go. Okay, we're going to be talking about animals, particularly tigers. But anyways, this is a tidbit I unearthed, and this is a factoid, and it's a true factoid. In 1990, there were 100,000 tigers in the Asian wild, up in Asia, which is on the other side of the world from where we're at. But there in 1990, 20 years ago, there were 100,000 tigers in the Asian wild. Now, in the year 2010, they did a recount, and now there are only 3,200 left. So that means almost 97,000 tigers have died or perished or were killed by poachers or by natural causes since 1990. So if that's the case, does that mean 20 years from now there will be no more tigers in the Asian wild? And if that's going to happen, here's a subject I haven't talked about in a long time: cloning. Okay, say we get down to 10 tigers left in the wild, so Asian tigers in the wild. There's only 10 left, no more after that. Do we start cloning them and let the public know, let the world know that they're cloned, and let them out into the wild, and then tell people that they're not becoming extinct anymore, they're reproducing, blah blah blah. Give everybody a bullshit story that nature came in and altered the course again for the tigers, and then hopefully there'll be 100,000 tigers again in the wild, only to not know that maybe most of them, almost all of them, are cloned. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because, like, remember, I forgot what movie it was, but I think it was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where if your pet died, you can take it, your pet died, like a cat or dog, you can take it to a store called Repet, and then they can clone the dog for you, the exact dog. But I am a owner and lover of 2 dogs. You've all seen pictures of them in videos. But anyways, they're getting along in the year. They're pushing 70 years in dog years, which is pretty old in dog years. But anyways, I would not like to think of the fact that, okay, hypothetically, I'm not saying it's going to happen, God forbid it happens, but say your pet passes away, you take the pet to a store in the future. Now we're in the future, and they call Repet. But anyway, they clone your dogs, and then the next day, even though your dog had passed away the day before, you had the same dog licking your face the following morning, only to figure out that it's not the same dog, but it is the same dog. Can you understand me on that? Because there's the trick. Okay, if it's your pet passed away the night before, and then it got cloned that night, and then you had a new pet the next morning, but it's also the same dog, but not the same dog. And what I mean is not the same dog, because a lot of people are convinced that dogs have souls, like a human spirit souls. I mean, not human spirit souls, but they believe that dogs have souls. And I like to think that they do, because there are times when I have been in the pits of hell. I have been in the bottomless pit, and I'm looking for a way out. And sometimes my dogs are the only ones that will keep me from spiraling downward into despair. But and then when I would look at my dogs, into my dog's eyes, and they would come running to the door when I come into my house, and they're excited to see me. And that's when I know that there's some sort of emotion of a soul. But anyway, would your clone dog, if you had a dog that was cloned, would they have the same? Would they have the same manners? That's what I would like to know. And also, too, I have seen way too many movies. Would it come back on a murderous rampage? And knowing me, if I had my pet cloned, and then they come back, they probably kill me, because for all the for all the pranks I pulled on my dog when I was younger, or on all dogs generally. I wasn't cruel to animals, but we like to play tricks on them, and I know, I'm sorry, but that was them. Okay, enough about that. Okay, Tiger Woods finally announced that he's going to be back to playing golf next month in April. You know what? I hope that the Tiger Woods situation by then is different, because I am sick and tired of hearing Tiger Woods. I had a lot of respect for him before, and now my respect for him is nil. Because did you ever see the apology he did where he wore an oversized black tweed jacket or sports jacket, and he's apologizing for his behavior, and he says something about I felt like I was entitled to whatever I was doing. I felt like I was entitled to it. You know, that's not very cool. But anyway, Tiger Woods, you can just fuck off, because I never really liked the fact that you made so much money and yet you were still snotty like that. Okay, enough about that. Okay, we all remember John Edwards. John Edwards, he was the vice presidential candidate back with John Kerry. With John Kerry back in 2004. Remember they had ran against Cheney and Bush again in 2004. But John Edwards, he's an important politician. He's a very important politician. Ever since then, he's been in the limelight a lot. But his wife, Mrs. Edwards, has gone through a lot of trials and tribulations with breast cancer, and then there were rumors that John Edwards was having an affair, and then it got worse. John Edwards fathered a child with his mistress, and then all of a sudden John Edwards got divorced from Mrs. Edwards, and now he gets the laughing stock. I used to have the most respect for John Edwards because, like most people here in Pima County, I'm a Democrat, and I had liked John Edwards, and I had voted for him back in 2004. But now I would never vote for him because here's a couple quotes that John Edwards told his mistress, Riley Hunter, I'm assuming her name is. Baby, I'm not going anywhere or anything. You please me like no other has or will. And this guy wanted to run our country, but yet while his wife is having treatment for breast cancer and cancer in her body, he's off and fucking around and fathering a child. Okay. And then now here's the best part. Riley Hunter now has her own quote, and then he said, this is what she said about John Edwards. He said, John Edwards, he in fact did say to me that first night, falling in love with you could really fuck up my plans for becoming president. You know what, John Edwards? You'll never become president. You know why? Because you're a dumb fuck. You don't deserve all the good things that had happen in your life. I'm sorry that your son passed away in a Jeep Wrangler accident, John Edwards, but John Edwards, you're a punk. So fuck off. Alrighty, 2 weeks ago, on March 14th, $75 million worth of drugs were stolen from a Connecticut warehouse during a March 14th heist. Think about that, guys. $75 million worth of medicine was stolen. You know, pharmaceutical now is always and has been a profitable industry, but now it's gotten to the point where you can make more profit of the pharmaceuticals on the black market. So that's pretty interesting there. All right. Oh yeah, and then two more things I wanted to talk about. there was a recent blackout in the country of Chile, that's down in South America, and their electricity problem is all interconnected. But during the recent blackout in Chile, 90% of the country were affected by the blackout. So you know, if you ever feel grumpy here in the U.S. about certain things, just feel grateful that you are a U.S. American citizen who live in the greatest country in the planet. So don't you forget that, people. Alright, and then two more things. The U of A basketball team under the Lute Olson year had made it into the NCAA tournament, NCAA tournament 25 years in a row. And now under the new coach, I think it's Sean Miller, I believe, the U of A basketball team did not make the NCAA playoff tournaments. So thanks a lot. And on a sad note, I remember back when I was a kid, 50 years ago. Give me a second. When I was a kid, 50, 70, 80, 90, 100 years ago, there would be certain movies I used to watch on VHS back in the early 80s. But one of them was very memorable to me, and I don't know if you guys used to remember this movie, but it was called Lucas, starring Charlie Sheen and the late Corey Haim. But anyway, on the subject of Lucas, that's why I bring it up, is because Corey Haim passed away earlier in the month. He was the age of 38. But he's in some of my favorite films of all time. He does an awesome role in the movie called Lost Boys by Richard Donner. But Lost Boys features Corey Feldman and Kiefer Sutherland. Vampire Story. But anyway, it's a great film. Part 2 was not good, by the way. Part 2 sucked. But Lost Boys is one of my favorite films with Corey Haim. And then also, too, him and Corey Feldman were inseparable during the 80s. They were like the yin and yang of being America's teen heartthrob. But then we all know what happened with Corey Haim. He had his own demons, and he was always looking for work. But anyway, he passed away, so God bless Corey Haim, because I sympathize with the guy, because I grew up in that same time period where he's coming from. So, what else I want to talk about? That's it. I think that's it for episode 230. Maybe we'll be doing some, we'll be doing something new, hopefully, in the next coming few weeks. But anyway, we're doing live TV now, so Saturdays at 8 o'clock, the end of television, starring Murdy and featuring Call Me Crazy. But anyway, guys, I feel kind of nauseous. I don't know why. I feel kind of sick. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm out of here, guys. But forgive me for repeating myself. I was out of it the last time I had done the episode 229. So I'm out of here. So anyways, I'm out. Love you all. Tucson is the best city in the world. And long live Arizona Cardinal. And God bless everybody. Later. Oh, and by the way, don't relapse. Don't relapse. Don't relapse. Don't relapse. Alright, I forgot one thing, guys. For all you people out there, back in 1993, the Tucson music scene was different from what the Tucson music scene is now. You gotta remember, back in 91, 92, 93, grunge was happening. But anyway, my good friend James Woolhite had a band called Jab. You'll be watching Jab tonight. Jab was filmed in front of a live studio audience on May 15th, 1993. And guess what? Guess what, people? Guess who's in the audience watching Jab in concert? Yep, yours truly, the end of television and Call Me Crazy. So check it out. Great set. Also, it's one of the few shows that we have a band at the early 90s DPC, which stands for the Downtown Performance Center, where great bands such as Fuck, American Death Trip, and Miscellaneous Youth used to play, including countless others I've seen that we've seen. But anyways, I hope you enjoy the show, Jab. Look for me and Marty in the crowd. But enjoy the show, guys. I'm out of here. 1993 was a magical year. For the first time in 17 years, I saw this show today. Blew my mind. I thought I went in a time capsule. I felt like Marty McFly. I went back to the future, then back to the past. But great show. But look for us in the crowd. I'm out. I got stuff to do. The Call Me Crazy Show. The Call Me Crazy Show. The Call